What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, and this is another episode of the Facts Project. Today, special guest, Fabulous Mags, Erika Hardison, contributor, of course, for Huffington Post, Romper, USA Today, and also Clubhouse Room, My Superheroes Are Black. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really honored. I was so shocked when you asked me. I was like, for real? Okay.
Look, what I do is I compile a list of people that I find very interesting and in the acts of what I want to talk to them about, because I feel like we have similar interests. I wanted to have the conversation.
Let's converse.
Okay, cool. So for one, first topic of business is, as of last year, you actually you hit me up and you hit me to something that I had no idea about. I heard about the Kickstarter that happened last year and that it was pretty much going to be in our hands. But there's this book over my shoulder called Noir is the New Black.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a comic in it.
I have a comic in it.
So the comic is called Entanglement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you could describe this to us, I've read it multiple times. I actually even read it again before the show started. But please, if you could.
I would describe it as a fast-paced crime, New Jack Swing era comic.
and you can obviously see that because the first snippet of I forget the detective's name because it doesn't say her name initially.
Mm-hmm. Chris.
Yeah. Now she's wearing an 8-ball jacket.
Mm-hmm. So, and bamboo earrings.
And the scenery is Chicago, 1991. Mm-hmm. Now is the now you're from Chicago. Mm-hmm. South Side, as you said. Mm-hmm. Is the Regal a nightclub in Chicago?
Well, the Regal has a really interesting history. So the Regal was like the Black Broadway, sort of, for the South Side of Chicago. So, Raisin in the Sun, because Lorraine Hansberry, she's also from Chicago. So Lorraine Hansberry, her Raisin of the Sun, and like Serafina, but it has always been like the pinnacle of like, the Black Broadway or the Chicago version of Apollo. Like it has like a significance to it. And I thought it would be cool if, I made Chicago a character, because that's what I wanted to do. Like Chicago itself is a character in the comic. It's not just the back scene, like things that happen here are specific to Chicago at that time. So so it's basically this theater where a lot of Black creators entertain, and it's very culture based, and it's no longer open, unfortunately, but it was it was actually in the background scene of Lovecraft Country.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, now I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
But the artist, like, she got it. Like, I was sending, pictures of it because, it is a historical fiction, and that's kind of like what, noir writing is. Mm-hmm. It has a specific, you don't have to do it in the past, but certain solutions and issues that arise are kind of like intricate to noir writing. So I wanted to definitely put that in there.
Yeah, as far as like your first comic being within this anthology series, mm-hmm. and I love when anthology series have a theme. Normally, it's like it's a bunch of different stories within like just a very large scale novel, or like in just the density as far as what the book is concerned. But the entire book had similar implements of crime noir, all from a black perspective, whether it was your story which was based in 1991 Chicago, or there was some that were based in like maybe 1930s New Orleans. Mm-hmm. So like
even the future,
right? There was even some that like built up into like this futuristic time travel. So like to be honest, if you watch Lovecraft Country, if you watch that show, like it has all those implementations in it. It has that the whole scenery of segregation and how Black people were treated in the past, and even in when that was brought forth into the future, where you see those similar stories where they're doing that as well, it's like this is how Lovecraft Country did. They could do those time jumps from time to time within the storylines, which was really cool.
It is really cool. And that's why I wanted to jump on a project. Like I wasn't like I didn't know Fabrice. I didn't know any of these people.
Mm.
I actually saw the Kickstarter in my work channel Slack, right? So I was like, what is this? It sounds really cool. And I was looking at all the people that were on it. And I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna back this up. So I pledged, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is really interesting. There's a lot of people in here. I was like, I wonder if they got room for another new writer. And I emailed them. I was like, yo, I back y'all Kickstarter. If y'all looking for writers, I would definitely like to jump in. And it was like, we have a lot of writers right now, but as time go on, sometimes people change, their schedule changes.
Yeah.
So in the meanwhile, pitch us a story you would like to work on. And this was like in August, I believe, of last year. So I was like, okay. So I thought about it. It was like, you're only going to get like 5 or 6 pages. So It has to be short to the point. And as a journalist, I could write short news stories, but as an actual fictional story, that was my biggest challenge because I was like, how the hell am I going to write a 5-page comic? Like, who does that? Like, I've never read a 5-page comic.
Right. Because you immediately jump into pretty much the climax of like, was Sweet Hips is trying to basically, I'm sorry, she was hired by Demeter, her love interest, story, to basically find out who's been stealing from the club, but then utterly finds out this, I guess the manager at that time had just got killed.
Yes. And you see his brain splattered all on his right? I wanted to be so bloody. I told Karen, she's the artist, I was like, I like anime. Well, at least I like horror anime.
I was going to talk about that because Karen Darbo, definitely. The way that the artistry that was in this is strictly manga. It looks like a manga.
Yeah, it does. She's so dope. And she's from Italy.
Is she?
Yeah.
Wow.
I gotta get her on the show and talk to her. Man. She's like working with like Boom now. I think she did a Boom cover for The Walking Dead, the newest Walking Dead. That's she did. Yeah, so she's all over the place. She's an amazing artist. To be honest, I was so nervous about the story. I was like, if this art don't kick ass, right, go look at it. Because the difference between like writing and being a comic book writer, like not only does the story has to make sense, the art has to be really compelling. Like if you get a bad artist, the writing could be phenomenal, but people are going to struggle with it. Or you can have an amazing artist and have a terrible story, but people will still read it for the art.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I've read some excellently drawn comic books that have been shitty.
But you turn the page.
Yeah, exactly. It looked amazing. It just wasn't written well.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some of the people that basically some of the other Black creators that were involved with this book. Now I can read what I have here on the notes, or I could just simply grab this book. Brandon Thomas, Greg Burnham, Melody Cooper, Brandon Easton, Dorothy Jean, David Walker from Bitterroot, Hannibal Taboo, Roxy Hayes, Marcus Williams, Greg Anderson, Elise. Like, you joined a bunch of heavy hitters on this book.
Yeah, as a first time comic book writer, because you know what, I was like, if I get in this book, so many people are gonna read everybody else's stuff. I'm just gonna hope they stumble on mine.
You ain't at the front or the back of the book. You're directly in the middle, so it's not like something that you could breeze by. Know what I'm saying?
I was hoping.
Now, as far as doing this, 5 pages, 5-6 pages tops, has the itch occurred? Now you want to do more?
I do. I also would like to edit some graphic novels.
Very good.
I think that would be a good learning tool, because learning how to edit a graphic novel will give you an understanding of how to write a story.
True.
So, jumping into it, writing it is one thing, but I think if I edit it, I think I could write better.
Now, as far as your writing is concerned, being a contributor through Fabulous Mag for Huffington Post, USA Today, uh, Romper, like doing these type of publications, does it make it that much simpler as far as the transition going into comic book writing, where you're
Oh,
basically writing parts and settings and all that?
mm, no, not really. It's just
No.
it's a whole different world. It's like being an intern all over.
Mm,
It's a different world. Like nobody, it's nice, for other editors to know that okay, yeah, she can write because she's been published, but writing an article and writing a comic is not the same thing.
true.
So that doesn't, you don't even have to be a journalist to be a comic book writer. You could be a teacher. A lot of comic book writers are teachers,
Yes.
and they work, in some type of art as a professional, so like they're creative through and through. So
Now, if you don't mind me asking, when did you start Fabulous Mag?
I started it officially as a publication in 2013.
2013.
Yeah. Oh no. 2000 and when was the first Beyonce at the Super Bowl when she knocked the lights out?
Oh, yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it is 2013.
Okay, yeah, that was the first.
It's like funny how you just picked that moment. I was like, wait, hold up.
I'm gonna tell you why, because my cover girl was Beyonce's saxophone player.
Mm, okay.
So she was the girl kicking ass with the big saxophone in the back with the big afro.
Okay.
When we released the issue, she had this Super Bowl and it was like a big thing. So
Mhm. So when you describe Fabulous Mag as basically um, a publication for art, beauty, style, and culture within a blurred womanist perspective,
mm-hmm.
how is that contributed to the audience? Like how do you describe it to people?
Well, I mean, to be frank, a lot of Black girls are nerds. They're just nerdy about different things. Some nerdy about fashion, some nerdy about books. Like the Black girl book community is, you want to know some nerds? Get into the Black book community. Like these girls are reading everything under the sun, like literature, and they have a very expensive habit. That's why I think publishers are really, especially comic book publishers,
Mhm.
are really missing the mark on writing more Black girl material, because the girls be buying $20, $30 books, 5 or 6 a time a month.
Right.
So you could like put out graphic novels and they would be on it. But that's another conversation. But yeah, travel girl that love the nerds, food nerds, girls that be in the kitchen putting together random things, their own recipes, education nerds, this it's Black women just do so many interesting things. I meet more women that are nerdy than are not.
Mm. See, that's excellent. So you see, and I would never say that my mom is a nerd, but I think everybody has had their mom have a bookshelf full of books
Mm-hmm.
that she's read, like from
Mm-hmm.
Danielle Steele to Coldest Winter by Sister Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Those type of books were all over the house, and I would have never even picked it up. Me just sitting there reading comic books that she just reads all these continuously, and she's a book nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And
You know,
I
it doesn't have to be comics. It could be like a bunch of sci-fi shows.
yeah. Absolutely. And the thing is, even in you telling me this, you've myself and you, we were both on different panels within Virtuous Con where you were on the one for finding Black liberation with books.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you tell everybody about that panel?
Sure. So basically, I work with Sister Sci-Fi, and we do a monthly graphic novel selection, and we pick comic books that are either centering Black women or written by Black women. So or other people of color. And we read World of Wakanda. And the biggest joy for me is, women who thought about reading comics but wasn't sure, or women who have never read comics before, but they're like, okay, I want to see what this sister's writing about. I want to read this Black comic book. Like they're supporting Black comics
Right.
consistently. Like, they make sure that they're there. And there's this one participant, she's an older woman.
Mhm.
Much like she could be like my grandmother.
Really?
Or, yeah. And she would sit there with her comic and she would just talk about the panels, the coloring, and how the mood, like talking about World of Wakanda with her. Like this woman has probably like 70, close to 80 years old, and she sit there and talk about World of Wakanda with her was the best. Like that was it for me. I was like, this is so dope.
That's excellent. The fact that normally comics are pretty much a new interest on young adults and little children. And the fact that you were able to introduce World of Wakanda to somebody who probably didn't even think of ever picking up a comic book, who happens to be 70 years old. And she is highly interested in the art and what it means. Now, even in saying that, like, what do you feel as though a lot of comic book movies, of course, having the ability to broadcast to a nationwide, worldwide, international market, people that have not seen comic books in the past or never picked up one felt intrigued to get in the comic books by seeing the movies first.
Well, WandaVision is a good example for me. So like I was never really interested in Scarlet Witch. I mean, it was okay, but that's not something I would go out my money and pay for myself. It came across me, I'll read it, but that's not something I'm interested in. But since the success of the WandaVision show, those comics are being sold out. Like people are buying them up. And that's kind of like what these properties want to do. They want to tease you with the visuals, with the TV series, with the movies, so you could get interested in those characters and go to the shops and buy them off the shelves every week.
It's true.
And with WandaVision, they've been doing it. Loki 2 has been selling more comics than usual, but that's ultimately the goal. They want people to buy the comics, even though I don't think there should be weekly comics anymore. I think comics.
Really?
Yeah, because 20 pages for $5 a week. Come on. That's a lot. And you want to buy like 7 different books at a time.
Oh man.
That's a lot. Every week.
I buy a lot of comics every week.
I know. It's like it's a very expensive hobby. It used to be expensive hobby, but now it's like an expensive unless you get like a really good sale, like on Free Comic Book Day. I think I got like 50 comics for like $32 from Midtown Comics. But that's not every day.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, it's debilitating on a relationship when you're paying that much for comics and your girl looks at your bank account and says, what is all this?
It's hard to break. It's like
it is. Like this recent X-Men series, I think I've bought everything weekly. And the thing is, they branched off and have done more. And I think
I'm so upset with that. I was like, how many effing runs of Marvel is there? They're like
a lot,
at least 6 or 7, easy.
Absolutely, there's tons. And the thing is, there's always the point where the writer that has created the current run ultimately says, you know what, I'm about to finish this, and then they just pass it off to another writer, and then he starts the whole thing all over again, and everybody just gets excited. Oh my God, this person's writing the book, and then they go. It's a weird thing, but it makes us go back and forth with this.
Let me ask you a question. What comics are you looking forward to next month?
All right. So, for one, I'm looking forward to getting in the mail. TJ Sterling is putting out Joystick Angels. I contributed to the Kickstarter and it's coming. I think it's going to be in my hands next month, where it's kind of like a space odyssey. Almost like a space opera. It's a bunch of teens who are pretty much out to save their parents from a destroyed world. They all live in space. It's pretty much like a Gundam style, like Voltron, where it was a bunch of kids, and they're all basically just like fighting for the spirit of their families and everything like that. But it's to the beat of a soundtrack. So TJ got his brother involved, and there's a soundtrack, almost like a score, involved with the comic. So that's one. As far as Marvel's concerned, there's the Ryan Ottley, Don Cates. So Ryan Ottley did Invincible comics. So a lot of the Invincible series that was on Amazon, he did the comics for that, a lot of the artwork.
I thought it was, what's his name?
It's Robert Kirkman, who's
okay.
but but Ryan Otley did a lot of the artwork for it. So he's doing the artwork.
Oh, okay.
Donnie Cates is doing the writing for a brand new Hulk series after this Immortal Hulk series is done. So I'm looking forward to that, because to see Hulk put into the perspective, because this last run, it was like a psychological horror.
Mm-hmm.
And you would never think Hulk in a psychological horror sense, but ultimately it kind of is. Somebody who has like a little psyche inside of this beast.
Mm-hmm.
So that one's compelling, but the new story is based on him being like a raging lunatic, which makes more sense, you know. So those I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to so the Walter Mosley in the Thing.
Yes.
Because Walter Mosley writes crime really well. Actually, he's like one of the people that I would say, if you want to write a good mystery or a thriller or crime, read some Walter Mosley. Like, people know him for like Devil in the Blue Dress. He writes really good crime. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in The Last Annihilation of Wakanda. That's coming out.
Yes.
So I think that would be interesting because it's supposed to be a limited.
I've been reading the lead-ins for that. So I'm like, that's one of them I've been waiting on as well. So there was the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. After that kind of like ended, that was Ta-Nehisi Coates' like final run with Black Panther. Then all of a sudden it's kind of merging with this X-Men run. So you're seeing like T'Challa being met with Storm, who is now like the regent of Mars at this point, and they're forming like a union again, outside of them not being married, of course. So I'll be looking forward to that.
They really want us to do this. Okay.
Now, as of I think it was last year, Clubhouse turned into this thing. So as it being an audio medium, in order for a lot of people with similar attributes, for them to pretty much find ways to talk to each other and have conversations through this audio input, and have groups and rooms where people can just like spill their guts about their most favorite things. You started a club called My Superheroes Are Black. And how has that been received?
Well, okay, so I've had My Superheroes Are Back since like 2016. So we've been on Facebook and Twitter. So I was like, well, we got a Clubhouse room. And so they just came. So we were just occupying another social media platform. That's it.
And you have definitely occupied it, because you do this once a week. You probably like have a new topic or something like that, maybe twice, 3 times.
Well, not on Clubhouse, but in Facebook. Yeah, we do a lot of topics, and we do meetups. We just had a meetup over to see Candyman. So yeah,
haven't seen it. Don't spoil it.
I'm not. I promise.
Okay.
So we made up for that. Like, I think the most successful meetup we had was Black Panther in 2018. That's actually the last time I've seen a lot of them, since 2018, because then the pandemic came. And so so I reserved 320 seats for 320 blurs to see Black Panther when it came out, and like to see all the support. We were selling comics, we had bottles of liquor, we was giving out raffle prizes.
You made it a party.
It was a party. We had an after party. We had like Wakanda drinks. It was a lot of fun. It was they gave us a write-up in Black Enterprise.
Where was this?
2018.
No, where was it at?
This was in Brooklyn.
This was in Brooklyn? Man.
We want to do it again. I'm looking at options on where I want to do it, but we're definitely going to do it again.
Okay.
And we want to do a blur skate party.
Nice. I actually have a skating rink like down the street from me.
Well, then you need to come, because everybody's gonna have their cosplay on and they're gonna be skating, and we're gonna get real ignorant, because
that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So I mean, ultimately, I guess during that time, 2018, Black Panther came out. A lot of people that had never gotten in comic books before that happened to be black. Got into it and it never looked back.
I mean, do you blame them?
No, not at all. And I'm kind of glad. I think I said this on Instagram. I was like, I'm kind of glad that we got as ignorant as we did, because little did we know that this would be kind of like a sending off for Chadwick Boseman than we did.
Right.
The from going to those
premieres. My comic.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
He signed my Black Panther comic when he was on press tour.
Damn. Man, you better mint that thing. Put it on a wall.
It was Ta-Nehisi Coates' first issue, and I was working at the Huff Post office, and he was there with like Chris Evans, with the Civil War team actors and stuff or whatever, and I was like, I didn't want to ask him. I was actually like, because I was like working. I was like, I really can't really be asking him. So I asked my manager at the time. I was like, can you please ask him for me, please, please? And he signed it. And I was like, oh, yes.
Well, where's that copy now?
It's in my bookshelf.
I'm serious. You better put it on a wall to get it all sealed and everything. That's going to be worth some money one day.
No, they don't. It wouldn't be worth any money, officially, because it's not authorized by the comic industry alliance, gatekeepers.
Yes.
For people who will probably pay for it.
It's true. And if you said you had a Black Panther comic signed by Chadwick, somebody's going to offer you some type of dough for it. But in the meanwhile, and the thing is, I didn't want to be a nuance or anything like this. Like, how does it feel to in this space to be a Black girl nerd in this day and age in 2021?
Scary. It's really scary. Still, I mean, once you find your community and you make a community, you're okay. But before then, if you're just out there trying to find your people, it's very scary because it's just effed up. Right. Especially for girls that cosplay.
Yes.
I tiptoe around the cosplay community. I'm not a cosplayer.
Neither am I.
I support the ones that I know about, and I love discovering new ones. And I always to post their art and stuff like that. But from what I hear about the cosplay community, it is drama times 10.
Yes. I mean, not to mention, out of all the things that could happen at a comic convention, like the controversy around BlurredCon happened to be at a cosplay contest.
No, BlurredCon. That's gonna have to be another conversation because
we could elaborate. I've actually had the opportunity to have Hilton George on the show, and it was just before BlurredCon happened, and then when all this happened, it was like, I can't believe that happened.
I know you didn't even want to promote it no more. You like, damn.
I can't, yo, how did that happen?
I'm gonna say this is probably the nicest thing I could probably say. Hilton is very good at promoting BlurredCon, getting the word out and getting people to support. And the location of BlurredCon allows people who don't want to travel to New York or Philadelphia or even Chicago to stay in their region, which is a good thing. It's needed, right? That community space and event is needed. It's just unfortunate that niggas got to be pimped out to do it. You know what I mean?
Because another thing that after the fact, like talking to a bunch of comic book creators, a lot of Black comic book creators that were looking to just like, BlurredCon was the first thing open. Let me just try to get like a table so I could sell my books. And then they said that they had the toughest time. And it was like, it was super selective. I don't know if it was like overdrawn because they had to cancel from last year into this year and everything like that. But from what they say that it's extremely tough to get a table at BlurredCon. I was like, of all places, y'all can't get a table there?
I saw a lot of white tables.
But then there's
That
that.
ain't my business. I didn't go.
Right. Because then that conversation where they talk about, oh, anybody can be a blurred. I was like, no,
That actually happened. That actually happened.
right. There's a reason that the N is taken off and the BL's on there because no, this is we got a box.
Like, look, I wish Hilton would just cut his losses and reframe, because there's a huge messaging problem with blurred cons. I wish he would just reframe his actual intent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he could be he could be a black owned con, right? He could be a black owned fest and still operate it. But he doesn't have to, you know, say is one thing when it's another. It's nothing wrong with having a con that welcomes everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, but
just don't call it BlurCon.
Just don't. I mean, okay, journalists.
Yes.
Here. Okay, so in all transparency, I completely was on board with BlurCon when I first heard about it.
Absolutely, same here.
I was like, I'm gonna travel. Me and the MSAB peeps was like, we're gonna meet up at BlurCon. We're gonna go show out. We had a panel. Mm-hmm. You know, I was even in conversations with having a party there. Like I was gonna, but I was like, it was a lot of things that was like questionable and
right.
But I still wanted to support because nothing is perfect, right? And if you were successful one year, you could do it again, right? But it was a lot of issues behind the scene with a lot of Black women, and a lot of harm was happening, and no accountability was being taken.
Right. And ultimately, with a lot of cons, that's always like the dark side of this. Mm-hmm. Is that when we actually do finally meet up, all this internet and social media tends to go away, and we actually do get a physical meetup. Mm-hmm. You come to find out that a lot of people aren't necessarily genuine to how they are propelled behind screens and phones and
right. And so I was just like, okay. And then when he did the whole anybody can be a blurred, then I was like, okay, so you know, you just using words, you don't really know what they mean. Mm-hmm. You know, if you don't want to have an all Black con, no one's pressing you to do it, you know, but just the way you present it and how you come across is.
Yep. Yeah,
but I heard DreamCon is popping.
I was just about to say that literally was the first thing on my mind. I was like, because the next week, DreamCon happens over in Texas, and everybody's saying how great of a time that they had.
Yeah, I would like to go to DreamCon. I mean, Texas is like, yeah, but if I could be like kind of like secluded, I guess, if I'm only going to be in the hotel or surrounding area, then I could possibly, you know, tolerate that, because I don't want to drive around Texas.
I mean,
I said as someone who used to live there. I lived there for like 6 months. I was like, no way, Jose.
I was in San Antonio because I was in the Air Force, so I was there for like 6 months tops. Well, no, I was there longer. I was there for like a year. But yeah, no, I wouldn't suggest anybody travel around and try to explore the place. Stay your ass in Arlington. Be right there at the convention. Hopefully your hotel is right next door. So you got to come into the confines of the people that actually live inside of Texas
and drink water bottles.
Yeah, this is hot as hell out there.
Yeah,
for real. But yeah, that's the thing. That's another Comic-Con that was almost supposedly in the same breath as BlurCon, and then people like for that being like, I think their second year. They said they had a ball. You know, they said that the panels
and that's a con where there's plenty of Black people.
Yeah. Yep. Right? No, yeah,
they're operated, but they're not niching on a specific community.
Yep. There was no types of inclusion of the surround. It was literally, and the thing is, Blur wasn't even in the title frames at all. You just kind of knew.
If you knew, you knew.
You knew this might not be for you. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I hope cons like that start popping up
Me
all
too.
over.
I feel like we're still kind of like hurt
Yeah.
from Universal Fan Con.
Oh my god.
There's a really interesting Jamie and Hilton connection.
Really?
Yeah. So after the first year of BlurCon, Jamie was like, she was like really pissed off from Black Girl Nerds.
Okay.
And she was like, Hilton stole BlurCon from her. That they was like on like a panel, or they supposed to be like on a board together or something like that. And she was saying that he stole the domain and they've been beefing or whatever the case may be. So when she launched Universal FanCon, I assumed that okay, this is going to be her time to talk about her version of what a BlurCon should be, since I knew that's what she wanted to do. And then
Mm. Oh yeah. I was about to say we we don't talk about Universal Fan Con because that. Whew. You want to talk about people pissed off on Twitter?
Yeah, I've never seen people that really upset before. And you know why? Because again, a niche community. You go into, targeting this niche community, taking all their money.
Mm-hmm.
It was so many people who talk about this is my first show. I spent so much money. I'm not getting nothing back. And like, then I think Black Heroes Matter, they organized like a pop-up shop for people who were already in town so they can set up their goods and sell so they can make some money back before they leave.
Right.
In a day or two.
It's wild. It's one thing to get grifted. It's one thing to get grifted by somebody you actually supported.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, and there is no double-edged sword right to that. It's like this is point blank exactly what happened. And then you basically saw people because back then there was no black conventions for nerd culture
Right.
at all.
Right.
So this sounded like a great idea at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And it was like, of course I would back this. Of course I would support this. Because ultimately I don't see a space for us and you just made a space. So let me go chime in, put a couple of my coins in and see where this goes because I want to be down for this and I also want to contribute. And then to have the tables turned on you, of course people would live it.
Of course, and rightfully so, especially with no real apology,
Oh yeah.
real plan of action to pay back the money, or at least, it was just nothing. And she's just out here, hanging out with celebrities.
Yeah. She still pops up from time to time and tells everybody what she got going on. And people be like, oh my God, are you still here?
Remember when she was supposed to do something with BET and they canceled it right because of Twitter?
Yeah, it's like, yo, you supposed to be here. You should, man, you need to delete this whole page. Straight up. But when we look at it, I mean, I just hope that there's more POC Comic Cons that pop up everywhere. I hope people want to do it in the future because there's so many that are out there that are not inclusive of a lot of black cosplayers, black panelists, black journalists, and everything like that. Like you go to New York Comic Con, there's not one black panel. You go to San Diego Comic Con, there's not one black panel. Like there's nothing there. They might take a couple photos of some cosplayers and everything and keep it funky with them and be like, hey, they were there.
There have been more in the past couple years. I know before the lockdown, the Afropunk panel, but Afropunk is also about that.
Oh yeah, they about that action.
Yeah, but they also funny. So Afropunk had a panel at New York Comic Con. There was a few other black centered panels. It's not a lot though, definitely not a lot.
Well, see, when you're talking about like a company like Afropunk getting a panel, they're already a corporation. But the thing is, New York Comic Con puts out panel submissions out to the public. Hey, we would like to have you. So then I'm sure not only just me, not only just you, but multiple black POC people are putting in suggestions for panels and everything like that year after year. don't get an acceptance or of their submission, which
Mm-hmm.
is beyond crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because they feel as though it's going to be some type of drama because of what they're talking about, or maybe the pitch for their panel submission is a little too risque for
Mm-hmm.
the Comic-Con or anything like that. But it's not that we don't love comics. We're just as judgmental of them as they are because we love this shit. You know, you can't be passionate about something and just be optimistic the entire time. I'm going to have a difference of opinion than you.
Absolutely. I think last year with the pandemic, they was a little bit more flexible. So I think people who weren't able to do panels before, they were able to,
Mm-hmm.
for like an online panel room. And
Yeah.
I think that's going to be going forward for a while because people are not going to be jumping to cons right away. Not like that. I like a whole bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually did San Diego Comic Con this year. It was my first time being on a panel.
Nice.
I was with Dr. Carpenter and David Walker
Go.
and Dr. Rodriguez and others. And we talked about, diversity in comics and, Afrofuturism and what that looks like in the, going forward. So that was a cool time. I was a little nervous because it's like San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if a lot of us, when we do get that chance, it's kind of like unexpected. It's like, okay, yeah, now I got to do this shit. Oh, I mean, but for somebody of your caliber and everything, I'm happy that you get the opportunity to speak about diversity within comics or even within nerd culture as a whole. Like, the fact that you're getting that opportunity speaks a lot for how many more steps we can take.
I hope so because I want to see more people, especially Black people, do comics and not just superhero comics because comics is a medium, right? So
Yes.
I want to see more nonfiction comics and graphic novels by Black people. Like Dr. Regina Hall has one out called Wake, and it's about the slave revolt
Mm-hmm.
of Black women who have fought throughout slavery. It's a black and white graphic novel. So I definitely want to see more graphic novels of all ages, nonfiction and fiction across the board, because I love them.
Is it now? I think you told me something that you haven't put out publicly on Twitter and IG that you wanted to put out there. What was that?
Oh yeah, I did say that, right?
Did say that.
So okay, I am a consultant for Stephen Curry's Literary Book Club. So starting next month, people will be the books that you see selected are books that I picked.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So I definitely have graphic novels and Afrofuturism on the horizon. And to have, I guess, one
Amazing.
of the sports players to be picking, telling people to buy books that I selected, I think is pretty cool.
Dang, congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Man, that's dope. So if anybody wanted to basically get in contact with you through your many publications, how could they reach out to you? Whether they wanted to see your work as an author through this comic series or some of the future work that you're just doing in general, how could they reach you?
They can always email me, fabulizemag, FBULIZEMAG @gmail.com, or hit me up on Twitter at Miss Yummy Dread, MZYUMMYDREAD.
Mm-hmm.
And just hit me up. I'm super chill, unless you're ding bad.
Yeah. Yep. You will correct somebody real quick. I've seen it. And how often is the My Superheroes Are Black on Clubhouse? And also
it's been a while since I've been on Clubhouse. I'm trying to get back into it, but time.
I've been on in a while.
But if you're on Facebook, you can always join the group. It's like 4,000, like 4,500 of us. It's a lot more fun here on Facebook because there's more people. So it's action happening every day, even when I'm not around. So somebody in there making somebody laugh or, you know, cry with laughter. I don't know. Or schooling somebody.
That's excellent. Yo, it was Erika. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for inviting me. It was so cool.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Like I said, I had a laundry list of people that I definitely wanted to talk to when I first started this podcast, and you exactly were one of them. So I'm more than happy to have this convo with you, and I hope to have more convos with you in the future.
For sure. If I definitely do something cool, I'll let you know.
For sure. For
Okay.
sure. All right. So this is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, Erika Hardison. Thank you for joining me on the Facts Project, and we are out.